I love printing. I love printing. I love it. I love printing.
Hey everybody, I want to welcome you back to another session of Printer to Printer with me, Warren Werbitt, also known as the Print Whisperer. Today we have a super distinguished guest, and I'll tell you why after. We have Jesse Safir from ABG Print in New York. Hello, Jesse.
Hey Warren, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Before we get into anything, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what ABG Print does?
Sure. So ABG Print, we are at 37th and 8th in New York City, and we are a commercial digital printer. We specialize in marketing and sales materials for financial services, advertising agencies, and other local friendly Fortune 500 companies here around and amongst us in New York City, and have been in business since 1992.
You bought the business, you're 38 years old, there's no print in your family at all. Today, the average 30-something is not buying into the print world. I think it's amazing that you did, but what were you thinking?
It's funny, you sound a little bit like my mother-in-law, which I appreciate. And, look, I think let's divide that question into two pieces, which is, why did I buy a business, a small business, and then why a print business? I'm going to do the first part very quickly. So I was always interested in owning and running a small business. I enjoy interacting with the people. I enjoy wearing many different hats. I enjoy managing the business day to day, and honestly having the responsibility to care for both the clients, employees, and welfare of a business day to day that you just get by small business ownership. Specifically, why in print? When I looked at ABG, I bought it in 2019, just before the pandemic, but it was a happy little business that has been run since 1992. It was in a niche, and as I'm sure you've seen with the many printers that you've interacted with, every printer feels like they have a core niche that they really focus on. It was in a space, in a niche that I felt was particularly well protected. Silly me for thinking that maybe. But we really specialize in fast turn documents. We're open 24 hours a day, Sunday through Friday. Printing at 2 o'clock in the morning for folks that need documents by 8 o'clock in the morning. And I just felt that it was an exciting area to be in. I hadn't been in my prior career a client of ABG, but I had used these types of services. So while I didn't have experience in print particularly, I was familiar with the need, and that excited me. And I certainly it's interesting. The more I've become involved in print, the more excited about it I've become.
Hey, listen, that's what happens. I mean, the reality is everybody needs print, right? And for the people that you're doing printing for, those clients, they're playing with big money.
Right.
Right? Those are big deals. So,
yeah, and what we see, right, and other people feel differently about it, what we really like to focus on is we want to print documents that other people, they don't need to print, they want to print. And so what you see, I think, is, and I'm sure you've touched on this in other themes and in other interviews you've had, a lot of the documents that people have to print, whether it's a legal requirement or they have to print because maybe it's a billing statement. I think eventually, in the long run, a lot of that goes away. But if someone wants to print something because it gives them a return, or they want to print it because it helps their sale, or it's a deal for their business, they'll always want to print that. And so what we try to focus on in our business is the areas of print, and rush print in particular, where people really want to print it rather than feel they have to, because the have to, I think, in the long run may decline.
Yeah, I don't know about print's always going to change. I don't like the word decline, but that's okay. I do like the fact that when you got into it, you identified the niche. I will tell you, most printers would like to have a niche, and they don't. right? So you're one step ahead. Anyways, I congratulate you and I thank you from the industry perspective of joining, because I think once you're in, it's not so easy to get out, right? And I mean, and you're catering to a whole new clientele or market in terms of demographics of age.
No, it definitely feels that way. In one hand, it's a blessing in that, as you well know, and certainly kudos to you for this, the print community is very collaborative, and there's a whole host of owners and experts within the print industry that if you are open and willing to listen and willing to learn, are more than happy to share their knowledge. And I will say that I am extraordinarily thankful to the other folks in the industry, especially as I'm new to it, that when I reach out and talk to others, they're more than willing to lend their advice and expertise on a whole host of areas, and it's in many ways it's heartwarming.
I'm my heart's warmed right now just hearing that. I'm happy to hear that there are other print owners and companies out there that are embracing you and giving you whatever knowledge they can to help, right? Because it's really important. I'm always telling everybody in this industry, if you're negative, and you're feeling negative, get the hell out. No room for negativity in the world.
Right.
We've just gone through what we've gone through. So anyway, that's amazing. So now, tell me about a little bit about COVID in New York City, because you had a up and down, up and down, up and down, and now hopefully it's on the up. But how did you make it through? And now we got a paper shortage issue and supply shit. So what did you do? What were you feeling? What were you thinking?
Sure. So when you, I'm sure you're familiar with this, but when you buy a business and you get lending to acquire it, a lot of banks will ask for risks or worst case scenarios. And I remember presenting some numbers, and I said, okay, well, if we see a decline, this is what might happen. And I put what I felt were conservative numbers, and as I was talking to different banks for lending, they all said to me, "Oh, don't be silly. There's no way it could go down that much, right? Don't be so aggressive. We want to show it to our credit teams. Only show a decline potentially of about 15%." And so when you talk about the risk to your business, I didn't think to add, right, if there's a complete cessation of all business economic activity in New York City, that might be bad for a printer that prints on demand, rush printing in New York City.
Whoever would have thought what happened?
Right. So it was amusing. I still remember in ancient history now, but about 4 weeks into March of 2020, and it's tough, right? We're down 95% in revenue, just to give you a sense of how rapid and how steep a decline it was. We've gone from 24 employees to 4 very quickly. And, when you think about that, I want to be clear, that's 24 to 4 at a time when a lot of the institutional knowledge of a company, right, you have a new owner that doesn't know anything, right? And it's, no one is excited and no one is happy about letting anyone go. You're just trying to keep the doors open, keep things surviving. And so, it was quite a wake-up call to, after being, up year over year after the acquisition in 2019, roaring into 2020, and then all of a sudden by the end of March, on a month-over-month basis, we're looking down 95%, looking at a complete loss of the vast majority of the employees. And I'm on the phone with a manufacturer rep for a lamination machine because our machine's down and I need to fix it myself. And so, it was certainly a wake-up call. It's not what anyone anticipated and not what anyone would have wanted. In the long run, I do think that it was a healthy dose of education that I continue to get to this day. And I do, I certainly don't want to pound any chests in victory, but I think we're going to come through the pandemic and see the other side. and it just makes me that much more honored to be running the company, that we could manage it through such a challenging time.
Well, I'll give you just a little clap because.
Yeah, yeah. Let's
No, no, I'll
let's
tell you why. That's why I said little clap,
yeah.
not big, right? But just coming in, buying the company, walking into the shitstorm that you did, to be sitting here chatting with me with a smile and feeling good. Oh my God, that's like that's to me a passionate person about business, wants to follow through and complete the endeavor that they started. Like, just the attitude is spectacular. So just having that attitude, having to want to learn, knowing that you're learning, because let me tell you about this business, the learning doesn't end. The minute anybody in this business thinks they know it all, they're done, right? It's just wow, way too much. People, what are you doing? Are you in need of people? Do you have people? Are you like, just what's your people situation? Because everyone's seems to have some type of situation today.
Sure. So we certainly have seen difficulty in staffing to some degree. Although I recently went through an extensive hiring round. We're hiring back up for September after Labor Day. I don't know if you got the memo, but COVID's over. Everyone's coming back to New York City. People are back in the office.
I have friends there this weekend. Just saying.
Yeah, and so we're gearing up, and we're certainly starting to see the demand come back. And so as part of that, yeah, absolutely, we have plenty of staffing, mostly on the production side. And we're a little bit different than maybe some other larger print companies. So just to describe it very quickly, I've found with other print companies they have, I wouldn't say siloed, but at least departments, right? You'll have a pre-press department, a production department, a binding and finishing department, maybe a logistics or shipping or fulfillment department. Given the nature of our work, right, our turn times, we get orders in at, for the sake of argument, 8 o'clock at night. They need to be out within 4 hours, right? If you have 7 different departments or even 3 different departments, right, there's too much time lost for communication. There's too much time lost. So we really look for staff that are cross-trained in every area so they can take a job within their shift, start to finish. Keeping in mind that we're running effectively 3 shifts. And so in light of that, we're looking for folks always that really can talk to a customer, to handle estimation, handle graphics and pre-press, press, binding and finishing. And so it's a tall ask. There's no question it's a tall ask for our staff, but in exchange they get, they're certainly compensated, and they get a fair degree of autonomy because we really trust them to be able to handle a job all the way through. Whereas in other companies, it's a little bit more handoffs and segmentation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's I think it is a tall ask, but I remember at my company, one of the things that we did that was great, I thought was great, was we did a lot of cross training. Right, what people have to realize is they're coming to work for you. The knowledge they're going to gain is adding net worth wealth to themselves. Right.
Right.
While they're there, let it be great. Hopefully they don't leave, but if they leave, so I think it's just great with what you have to offer people. It's
and that was and I will say this. I mean, we're blessed with as we apologies for that. As we have hired folks back, we have maintained a long tenure with the existing staff. And we're, that's part and parcel to having a successful print company, in my opinion, is to having folks that really want to be there, have an ownership mentality. And it's not just the owner that needs to constantly be seeking to learn. It's also the employees, right? And we really teach that with our folks. And that's the part that makes me, feel the warmest, is when our staff and our team are learning new things, and they come to me and say, hey, I think we can be doing this aspect better, or a client asked for this, and we can serve their need this way. That's the part that really makes you feel great.
I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking really quickly, like I'm going, wow, 38 years old, bought a print company, never in print before. If you keep doing, my opinion, but if you keep doing what you say you like, what you want to do and where you want to go, I think you will be successful. I think people listening, owners out there, we've got some legacy owners, some old owners, young owners, it's a mix up. But I always say it's about the attitude, right? You have the right attitude, and anything in life, the attitude will take you forward. So, for people listening, if you have that attitude, great. If you don't have it, I think you need some adjusting, right? Because with
I will say this. One of the hardest parts, I think, and I certainly feel this way, is getting the humility. But the nice thing about COVID, right, or buying a business right before it just gets absolutely crushed, is that the humility comes in spades, and so that part at least is easy to get, and so that you can rebuild from there. So that part hasn't been hard. But I do.
By the way, from a life lesson, humility is one of the bigger lessons in life.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Because especially when you're dealing with other people, if you've been through something, you have to have some empathy for yourself. You have to have some empathy for others. Without the empathy, it's going to be a lot harder to succeed with people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. But I think it's very cool. Very cool. Do you have any plans for the future? Are you seeing the company doing anything, going anywhere in any type of way?
Yeah, so I think our biggest challenge is this. So we because of our location, and because of we're certainly not a well-known brand, but because of our location and because of our reputation, we do, I would say, meet a fair degree of customers. And that's because, regrettably, occasionally, every once in a while, another printer will drop the ball, or internally a company will drop the ball, and they need something quickly. And so that really gives us an opportunity. It opens the door for us, if you will. And so we have a lot of print work that we do where it may be for a large company, it may be for a company that we've all heard of. But it's really just a small order, national retail chain, and they need something in 10 stores tomorrow, right? And so the challenge that we have, and the one that we're trying to build upon, is to say, okay, retail company or luxury goods company or Fortune 500 corporation, we did this job for you last night. Please don't see us exclusively as a rush printer, the emergency operating room for when something goes wrong and you need a last minute fix. We're happy to do that business for you, and we're so glad that we did, and we're glad that you think of us highly for doing it. But what we'd really love to do is also do a lot of, some portion of the $10 million of print that you also do, that you, for this current time, don't consider us for at all. And so that's
give us a little gravy.
Yeah, and it's not not to mince words with you. It's not about just give it to us. It's we'd like to earn it, and because that we can do it.
No, what you would like is the opportunity.
Right, and so on one hand, we're so grateful that people come to us and see us for the last minute work and the fast turn work, and we certainly keep the presses open and keep staff available and are ready, willing, and able at 3 o'clock in the morning for that work. But we're also here at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday, right? Ready for your.
Need some stuff to do during the day.
Right. And so I will say, as we think about the future and what we'd like to do, to maybe speak more plainly, we want to diversify without diversify away a little bit from exclusively financial services into some of the other, industries that are a big part of New York City, and as well diversify away from exclusively kind of the rush immediate work into more ongoing regular work that we feel that we can do great from a location in New York City right next to our clients. We see a lot of prototyping printing, a lot of quick turn printing, and a lot of events and conference printing for the many venues that are near us.
Yeah, no, I think your location, I think the whole niche of who you're selling, I think it's all great. Like the fact is that you have a niche and that you're not trying to be everything to everyone, right? Because that gets a little more complicated.
There's what I say and there's what we do. We certainly try that, and I'm sure this comes up with other folks who print owners who you interact with. But it's hard to say no to work, and especially as you're coming back, it's easy to take on work that ultimately just really doesn't fit your core capability, and so we're trying to get better at really honing in our niche, whether all the way from marketing through production, and making sure that we're really attacking what we think we can do well, while perhaps not necessarily agreeing to do everything just because someone wants us to do it.
Yeah, no, well said. Listen, you can't do everything all the time, and we used to take on stuff, and even if we have to farm it out or work with some others, I just say to everybody, just be smart about what you're taking on. One thing, my one experience, always, whether I listen to it or not, is my gut. And there have been so many times when I've taken a job, and as I'm taking the job, my gut saying to me, dummy, pass, don't take it. But I know better. I think I know better. I take it, and then it is nothing but a nightmare. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. When I get a little more selective on what I take, I thought that we've never had any issues. They were different issues, maybe not as painful. I don't know why.
Can I give you just two quick examples of that?
Sure.
So the most common is that because we have a lot of our clients are what you would describe as sort of white collar professional clients, and they're relatively young, and a lot of them at some point will have a wedding, and every once in a while they'll call us up and say, hey, in the business, I do a lot of work. Would you do my wedding invitations? And on one hand, look, like I'm a big fan of love.
Hang
right?
on. I'm going to stop you right now, and I'm going to tell you this. When I was getting married, and my wife to be at the time was talking invitations, I basically said, piss off, go somewhere else.
And so
I don't want anything to do with it.
And so how can you say that to someone who's so excited about their upcoming wedding? And I agree with you. You're absolutely right. And so what we've come up with the policy that if you are a client of ABG Print, we do your wedding invitations for free. Mm-hmm. Perk, you have to be a client. But that we find that the expectations of if we're doing them for free are modestly placed. And so it allows for an easier customer experience. Right. And they quickly understand that, if they're looking for, raised letter ink and foil stamping, that they can find someone that's better well suited for that.
Right. So a suggestion then, you might want to go out and find somebody who deals in the wedding invitation business, kind of just partner up where you tell them I might have some referrals for you. Because the people who deal with wedding people, I don't have to tell you got married, it's a nightmare. And as men, I think we just want to show up at the wedding. We don't really want to hear anything. Right?
It's funny. We were just at my wife and I were just at a wedding in San Francisco, and to the bride and groom's credit, all the printed collateral was absolutely gorgeous. They must have spent, I have to imagine, $25,000 at least on everything. And the entire time, my wife is elbowing me at the ceremony, saying, "Why didn't you print any of this?" And I said, "It's not what we do. It's not our core."
No, that's what a wife does. You get the elbow. But no, you're better off not, because as nice as it is in weddings, it's very personal, and people take it on a little differently. So it's not something I ever wanted to do. But wow. Anyways, we're gonna wrap it up. But kudos to you, and I'm happy that we got somebody like you in the industry. I hope that whoever watches this video takes and passes it on and lets some other people that are a little younger than, say, me, hear that people still see this as a viable, it is a very viable, serviceable industry. So kudos to you, and I think if you keep doing what you're doing, you're on the right path. You've certainly experienced, as a new business owner, a hell of a lot more than some people have in a short period of time. But what do they say? I mean, I hate all the cliches, but whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yeah,
and look, I mean, if there are people that have been in the industry for the last 10 years before COVID that could call themselves 10-year veterans that had only seen the market move one way.
Right.
And so, we certainly didn't get into some of the other challenges that, we're seeing across the industry. I'm sure you've covered in another series of videos, but,
Same for everybody.
there's plenty of learning to constantly do, and I appreciate the chance to speak with you. And I would just say an open invitation to anyone in the industry that wants to connect with me. I have no real motivation other than just a genuine interest in networking and appreciation of you, Warren, and happy to chat with anyone.
So I'll tell you that on August the 16th in Columbus, there's a print show, America's Print 22. I would encourage you to go to that, primarily because I'm speaking 3 mornings. At the same time, I'll just remind you that in October, mid-October, we have Printing United in Vegas. So just as a young newcomer to the industry, you haven't had an opportunity to hit some of the trade shows. Printing United is the larger annual trade show, and everyone's pretty hungry, I think, for trade shows because we missed it. And the one thing I'll keep telling you one thing, but another thing is when I go to the trade shows, it wasn't even about buying equipment. It was more just about looking, meeting people, talking, and getting some ideas. If you go to a trade show and you leave with 1 or 2 ideas only, slam dunk if you follow through with them. If you can't try 5 or 6, you ain't gonna make it, right?
Do they give you a promo code for selling them so hard? Like,
No,
they don't?
unfortunately, no, they don't, and that's a whole other conversation. But I just feel personally that it's my job as Warren Werbitt, lover of print and fishing, to promote the shit out of everything that we do and push people to go. And the reason I want everyone to go to shows is people count the numbers at the shows. So when the numbers are up, it's a positive talk about our industry, right? If the numbers are down at a show, people start to go off the charts a little, and I don't really, like I said before, I have no room for negativity in my life right now. So I just want to push. So anyways, I will thank you for your time and for coming on. I appreciate it. Appreciate the open talk.
Absolutely.
And
thank you so much.
You're welcome, and we'll do it again. And to everybody else who's listening and you made it to the end, I thank you. Please tune in to more of my shows. Also, you can go check out theprintwhisperer.com. You can check out the merch site, buy a sweatshirt. They're really good. Buy a sweatshirt, get it, take a picture, tag yourself, and tag me in it, and let's have some communication. Otherwise, I love print, Warren Werbitt, what they think. Everybody just keep printing.